I want you to cast your mind to a game that you would consider a masterpiece. You've done the final attack. You're watching the final cutscene. You're finally seeing all the culminations of all your previous acts come together in this one special moment. It's the end. Now the question I have for you is, what is next? For a lot of people, the answer is this. For others, they were satisfied with their journey and now they're off to other, different, better or lesser things. So the question I want to pose to all of you today is, how important is replay value? And should we be considering the replay value of a game in its rating or quality when we're considering it to its competitors? Now, I've played a number of games over the past couple of years, and I'm sure you have as well. If you're a gamer who definitely enjoys the medium, you've definitely sunk your teeth into a number of interesting, thought-provoking, long and intricate experience over your entire tenure. For me personally, I'd say the games that I've spent the most time replaying are, without a doubt, RPGs. Now, considering replay value, Dark Souls and the Elden Ring and the Soulsborne community is definitely probably has the biggest community, the most lovable, the most interactive community I've ever seen for a single player game. And I don't think I've seen it anywhere else than to see a place or group of players that are willing to replay a game a multiple number of times other than in the Souls games. The amount of people who've spent hours and hours finding every single nook and cranny for the guides, for the Dark Souls guides, for the Elden Ring guides, to accumulate all this information to provide it to the people and to share their experience. I've never seen so much love found and seen in one video game series, and it shows that the Dark Souls games are definitely truly something special. New Game Plus and new games are a testament and a staple part of those games. So the question that I want to pose is, does that make the game better in any sense? I find that an interesting question. I want you to cast your mind to a single player action adventure game of your choice, one that really stood out to you and that you thought was really, really special. One that sticks out to me personally is God of War. God of War 2018, where we follow the plight of Kratos, Atreus in Norse mythology as they try and take their fallen wife and mother to spread her ashes at the top of the mountain. For me personally, God of War was one of the best games and best gameplay experiences I've ever experienced, ever. It's truly a special title that will forever stay with me. It's very much special, and I'm sure every single one of you have a game that you feel so fondly about. I mentioned God of War specifically because of the genre it is. It definitely is a very cool action game, but if I were to argue anything, I would say that God of War is a narrative-driven game. My second playthrough of God of War 2018 was definitely not as enjoyable. It was a lot more formulaic, and honestly, the second time around was honestly kind of dry. If you were to ask me for a rating for God of War during my first playthrough, without a doubt a 10 out of 10. But I definitely think that a part of the charm, a part of how strong the narrative experience was the ignorance, us not knowing what was going to happen next in the narrative, especially because visual spectacle is also a pretty decent aspect of the entire game. You knowing what's going to happen next isn't exactly going to make the experience better in any sense, and that's truly unfortunate. Now I understand that other people may have different thoughts, but for me personally, in terms of replay value, a game such as God of War is definitely on the lower side. There is New Game Plus, but in terms of build variety and the way in which you can play the game, other than chopping and changing a couple of runes, there really isn't that much difference in your play style. And as I said before, God of War is a narrative-driven game. Everything rides upon the story. Once you've experienced that story, and I won't lie to you, this is a story and tale that will stick long and hard in your brain. It's hard to forget, so it's very unlikely that you will have forgotten any of the story beats. So me coming in the second time around, it was honestly a dry experience, as the essential best parts of the game had already been long exposed, and that emotional weight had been lifted off my shoulders as I knew how the entire tale was going to pan out. I'd say this is a little bit different when we're considering something such as an RPG, and a game that focuses mainly on the gameplay aspect of it. Cast your mind over to a series that I've mentioned before, Dark Souls, and also consider a different series, The Witcher. These are two games that are RPGs. While The Witcher has more of a focus on the story and Dark Souls has more of a focus on the gameplay, they are both role-playing games which allow and give you a decent amount of player choice that will alter the story depending on the way that you play. Now, in terms of Dark Souls, the variety that you have there is definitely on how good you are at it, how your build variety is going to go this time on this playthrough, as there's quite a variety. You can play as a mage, a melee build, a dex build, someone who uses a shield, someone who one-hands a sword, someone who uses two swords. There's a huge amount of options for you to tackle this game. The areas that you're going to go to are the same, but the differences here is that you now have player choice in the ending, which honestly usually doesn't change the game too much. But in terms of dealing with NPCs and side story content, you definitely do have a lot more power there. I'll be honest with you, in most cases, if you're not using a guide of some sort or have a couple of playthroughs under your belt, because of how vague Dark Souls is as an entire series, the chances of you missing a lot of these side quests is very, very high. So maybe do give yourself a little Google search and you'll be able to find more to the game. And these are just little things that are able to improve the quality of the tale. Similarly, in The Witcher 3, there are a number of options and choices that you make throughout your entire tenure that may result in the success or the death of many other characters. All of these things that I've just mentioned to you ultimately increase the replay value of the game. If I were to compare objectively these two experiences, Dark Souls and The Witcher 3 have much more replay value as they are altering parts throughout the entire experience. Because of replay value, would we consider a game such as The Witcher 3 or a game such as Dark Souls? Would we say these games are better than God of War because of replay value? I'll be honest, this definitely depends on the type of player you are and how much you consider this. I'll be honest, in my younger years, I used to replay games a whole lot of times, but the main reason for that was because of scarcity. Of course, I wasn't working, I was a child, and I didn't have access to a lot of games. Now that I've gotten older, the climate of gaming has exponentially changed. I'll put the link down in the description of a video that kind of has a discussion and explains this huge change that has happened in the gaming community, the rise of subscription gaming. Inadvertently, because of this subscription gaming being implemented into the sphere, the value of games has dropped quite significantly depending on whether the title you're speaking of is on the respective catalog, whether it's on Game Pass or PlayStation Plus or whichever package you've chosen there. So there are options to this. Because you have so many games available at your disposal that are not of low quality, high quality title available at your disposal quite regularly, the chances of you replaying a game definitely does change, because this was a great experience, a masterpiece even, but there's another game that I can hop onto that is going to be slapping hard of a completely different genre or a brand new experience. So considering the climate that we're in as well, is replay value really that important? I would kind of argue not. I agree that in terms of value, the amount of time that you can play a game, which essentially adds up to gameplay hours, does provide more benefit to you. But I'll be honest, in this day and age, replaying a game doesn't seem like something most players would do or truly care about. If you look at reviews and the general climate, replay value isn't usually a factor that is significant in a lot of games. Maybe if the game and the entirety of the game is focused on player choice, then we can say, okay, perhaps this is a significant factor, so you can find out and experience the different options or branches that you can take. But as I said before, this is juxtaposed to the two options you have. Are you going to spend your time replaying a game that you truly, truly enjoyed, replaying it to see how the other options are going to pan out? Or are you going to hop on into a brand new experience that could give you a game of similar quality and also get a huge amount of entertainment value, as you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen next? And this is, of course, enhanced in games that don't have any part or piece of significant player choice, such as a game such as God of War, such as a game such as Spider-Man, such as a game such as Horizon Zero Dawn. There is little to no player choice. There are dialogue options at times, but there's little to no player choice to greatly or significantly alter the story. What we have determined so far is that what defines or is going to result in higher replayability is games that give you different altering parts and player choice, which is most regularly found in RPGs and action-adventure games that implement this option of giving you player choice, such as Infamous and such as many other action-adventure games that have multiple endings and all of these type of things. So the question that I asked was, is replay value truly important, and does it even matter? The answer remains no. There are plenty of games that I would consider masterpieces that I've only played through once and I'm satisfied with my overall experience. If I were to go back to that title, I'd ultimately find myself disappointed, as I've already found out every single nook and cranny of what the story has to offer. There isn't a huge amount of build variety or a different way in which for me to play the game, or there isn't any player choice at all. And that for me is not a reason why we should demonize any other title that lacks in this regard. I definitely would say it is a benefit, but at most I would call replay value an auxiliary benefit that is not necessary for a game to be a masterpiece or to be revered as a top tier title. Those are my thoughts on this title and on this topic. Tell me your thoughts down there in the comments and let's have a dialogue, let's have a discussion. Take it easy, gents.